Young Ak said that song is nuts. Yeah. Nuts in all the wrong ways. All right. I'm voting now on this one. What about you, bro?
Absolutely.
So that was one of our reactions to Future's new album, I Never Liked You. And if you guys actually want to check out the full uncut reaction, it's now available on our Patreon plan. Link is in the description for you. And we're doing these every week. Next week we have Jack Harlow. Then we're going to be reacting live to Kendrick Lamar's new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So join if you guys want to actually bump these albums with us. But going into this album, how do you feel about Future's I Never Liked You?
Okay, so let's start off with the artist performance, because I had a couple of questions going into this, right? Like, I Never Liked You, and he spoke about it, you know, in the GQ magazine, and about how it was going to be more emotional and how he would try to do different things, but I didn't know what we were going to get. We were going to get, like, the Wizard type of Future, or we were going to get, you know, Hendrix, and I feel as if you kind of got a bit of both within the album as far as performances go, but one flaw I feel as if within the artist performance is a lot of the times I feel as if Future is kind of off key with the way that he's delivering his verses and the way that he's delivering these punchlines, and that's something that I love Future for, you know, is that rhythmic timing, you know, the ability to get me engaged into a track, and he's done it well. Example, on songs like, let's say, Gold Stacks, or even Puffin' on Zooties, 7:12 p.m. Those were all fantastic deliveries where he's staying consistent, he's staying locked into a flow, but I don't know, man. Another thing is, like, I also feel as if there's certain tracks and performances within the track list that are kind of overbearing a bit. Example, I'm Dead, you know, like that, I believe, had a runtime of 4 minutes and a half with, you know, 3 verses, and I was like, okay.
Could have been 2 minutes.
It could have been 2 minutes shorter. So where do you think, you know, Future could have improved, let's say, on the artist performance, and why did you think that it's not maybe up to par with other performances on other albums that you received from him?
Starting off with, like, the major highlight for me, it's definitely the intro, 7:12 p.m. And Future never misses on intro. If you look at Rent Money, if you look at Thought It Was a Drought, Trapped in the Sun, he always knocks those intros out of the park, and this is another slapper. And what's interesting about this song in comparison to the rest is that Future is actually building up momentum with his delivery and flow. Like, there's a nice slow tempo that starts the song off, and then gradually it keeps building and has a nice structure, but you don't really get that with a lot of the other performances. And I think that, like, what's also really kind of weak is when you're looking at his hooks, a lot of them are repetitive. For example, looking at a song like Chickens.
Yeah, that one was really not that great.
Got stale super quick. Also, looking at a song like Back to the Basics, his auto-tune, you know, crooning wasn't that pleasant on the ear for me. Apart from that, in terms of his performance, I feel like you did get a nice mix of melodic and more hype stuff, but he didn't really bring out emotions. Like, I listened to Future to kind of get, you know, turned up, or to get, you know, in my feels, or whatever the case may be, but Future just didn't really bring as much passion, I felt like. And apart from that, even looking at his delivery on a song like Keep It Burnin', what he'll do is that on the end rhyme, he'll, you know, give us a high note, but that delivery fell flat all the time. Every time he attempted it on this album, the high notes really weren't that good. And then, I mean, even if you're looking at his lines on here, they're super fucking cringy, bro. For example, call me Michael Phelps, I'm swimming in your bitch face. Like, it's just, it's not something that I'm gonna, like, it's something that throws me off when listening to the track.
Honestly, the Michael Phelps bar wasn't too bad. For me, it was just more, you know, the approach with the album and the type of presence that he carried on this track list. I feel as if it was empty in comparison to other projects that I heard. And a lot of people I've been seeing online, I've been saying that, you know, oh, dude, this is top tier, this is album of the year. And I'm like, have you guys ever listened to 56 Nights or like Purple Rain? Like, come on, you know, like, this is not top tier Future as far as performance goes, but I do salute him for trying out maybe something different with those vocal inflections, like you were saying, on different flows, but they just didn't work out for me. So I think the artist performance was mid as a whole. But let's go into the features, all right? Because a lot of people were talking about this feature list. Okay, Drake has a couple on there. Thames had a feature, Kodak Black, and it looked like a stacked feature list. But to be honest with you, I think it was extremely disappointing, except for Thames on Wait For You. Those vocals were fantastic, and I liked what you said before about it sounding like a Thames reference track, because it does low-key sound like your track, and they're just like laying vocals on top of it, and I didn't like that, actually, because the reason being is if you put that song into your mixing headphones, you realize that sometimes you can't even tell what, let's say, you know, Future's saying, and then you can't even tell, let's say, sometimes what Thames is saying in the background, and like it was kind of really off balance as far as, like, you know, the mixing and mastering goes. So that was kind of my take on it. And then you have the Drake feature on I'm On One, and like you have the Ovechki bar, and you have the
scoring goals like Ovechki, man.
And then you have the Messi bars, and then, you know,
and him imitating, you know, Blueface with the Tatiana bars. That wasn't good. And honestly, it's probably the worst Drake feature I've ever heard.
You think it's the worst
Drake feature? I think it's the worst Drake feature. Wow. I think that looking at what they've been able to do on songs like Where You At, Scholarships, and so many classics, it's kind of disappointing to see what the output was for this. But apart from that, the features were underwhelming. Looking at Kanye on Keep It Burnin', his rhythmic timing is super off, and I feel like every new Kanye verse lately is just focused around the same topic, and it's kind of getting stale at this point. Apart from that, I would say that Thames has probably the best feature, but ESTG absolutely fucking killed it on Chickens. That was really good. Probably the best written verse of the entire track. You have bars like, I know his drop because he can't tell on my block. Yeah, I'm like Pac, but I ain't dying or going to jail. Like, if you're just looking at, let's say, this verse in comparison to a lot of Future's verses, these lines actually bleed in from one to the next. There's an actual like pattern to it, like logically. But with Future's lines, I felt like they're all over the place, and it was kind of just like he was splurting out random words to a certain extent.
And not only that, but let's go to For a Nut for a second.
Oh,
all
my
right?
goodness.
The whole Young Thug bar with Diamond in her butt. Like, okay, I've gotten worse though from Young Thug as far as like cringy bars, but like that's not too bad. I don't think that they were memorable enough for me, especially like you're getting some of the best trap players on one song, right? And you have them all playing on a really nice production, but to be honest with you, it wasn't memorable, and it didn't have like that chemistry that I wanted to see on this. And talking about Future and Young Thug's collaborations, I mean, No Cap and Who with DJ Esco, like that's not on this level, and it's nowhere near that level. And I feel as if that's what a lot of new listeners have to understand, especially when going into Future, is go to his back catalog, understand what he's capable of, and then come back to this. And I understand the comparison is The Killer of Joy, but like not when it's this empty to a certain extent.
But not only that, I think the reason why we're kind of comparing it to previous songs and albums is just because we've seen what Future's capable of. We know what he could do and how much energy he could bring to a track, and it felt like this album was void out of a lot of that. But yeah, the features were kind of not so great. I'm gonna say that they were mid.
Yeah, they were mid.
And to be honest with you, even Kodak on Voodoo, like the
why did they give him an
acapella part
acapella
at
though?
the
Yeah,
end,
why did they give him an acapella?
so out of place. And yeah, these features were definitely disappointing, but I will still say that a couple of times Future did get outshined by them.
Okay, let's go on to the production, because most of it was taken care of by ATL Jacob, and you had TM88 sprinkled into
DY
the track.
Crazy, Wheezy.
So the standard, and my issue was that the quality of the beats weren't bad. Like I liked a lot of the melodies that were bringing in. Like I loved a lot of the drums and energy that was going through it, but there was no comprehensive sound to the album. A lot of it felt all over the place, where you would get like, let's say, I don't know, some background vocals, or let's say like a certain sample in the background, then after that, like they would just be absolutely overpowered by like these thumping 808 trap drums, and I'm like, like, was that really needed in certain instances? And not only that, but again, talking about the cohesiveness, was it supposed to be an album full of bangers, or was it supposed to be a softer album? And that's something that I didn't necessarily understand throughout the whole track list, and that kind of kept me wondering throughout it. So,
not only that, but also like it's not like there was a direction to it where it started off softer and moved in and became gradually more aggressive. It was kind of just like, okay, these two songs will be hardcore trap, the next three are going to be melodic, and then it's kind of like just sprinkled all over the place throughout the project.
And even there's certain moments in the album where I feel as if the sequencing wasn't that great. For example, like Love You Better to Massaging Me, like that was such an abrupt transition in the track list that it's like we were in the reaction yesterday on Patreon, and I was like, dude, like how do you transition from that beat to that beat? Like it's off-putting from the start to finish.
Yeah.
Listen, and I get it, okay? A lot of people go into trap albums and they want to treat it like a playlist, right? Like grab bangers out, that's what everyone has been doing lately. But if you want to talk about it on an album level and an actual track list, I do think that cohesive feel was missing throughout it.
And to me, the production was super generic. You got a lot of the same, snare and kick patterns. You got a lot of droning synths, a lot of flutes, and it's stuff we've heard on previous Future projects. And I'll give you an example. On a song like Wait For You, you have these soft strings coming through, and it's a very Afro beats type jam, but then you have these snares that kick in and totally kill the vibe. And it's like, why is there this mix of these hardcore drums mixed in with these vocal samples? It didn't blend very well, and it just seemed like it was generic.
What was also the production that sounded like it could have fit on Hall of Fame? What was what beat was that?
That would have been The Way Things Going, where you have these electric guitar chords that are totally out of tune.
Oh, dude, like, but not only that, but like it just didn't seem up to like Future's production standards. Because think about it, right? Like we're used to getting productions from Metro Boomin, like full albums, produced by him, or like Southside, even ATL Jacob, fantastic producer, but a lot of the shit that ended up making this track list did not feel, I would say, great at all. So listen, I think the production was mid, but let's go on to the instant replay values. Let's see what we're going to take out of this track list. All right.
Let's pull it up.
What were your top 3 tracks off the album? Let's start on a positive note.
Yeah, just to be totally honest with you, I don't see myself revisiting this much. I think it's Future's worst album as of right now. There's only 3 songs that I would take out of it and maybe re-listen once again to. I would go with 7:12 p.m. at number 1.
That's mine.
Number 2, I would go with Gimme Gold Stacks, and number 3, Puffin' on Zooties.
I had that exact same.
Same 3 tracks.
I had that exact same rotation. Yeah, sorry, I was putting my cup down, but yeah, I was just looking at the track list and. Maybe Chickens for SG, to be honest with you. That was another one that I was thinking about putting into my rotation.
But only for ESTG, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But even at that, like Puffin' on Zooties is actually a top tier Future song that I've actually been enjoying.
Top tier Future?
It's really good.
Like March Madness level Future?
No, but it's a different
vibe. That's top tier
Future. I know, but it's not like, bro, how many songs are in the level of March Madness, for fuck's sakes? You know, like
you have a lot on DS2 that are up to standard.
Yeah, but that's 2015
You have a lot on Monster. You have a lot on other projects.
But we're talking
that's
about
top tier Future. To me, this is not top tier, but listen, to me, this track list was lacking solid trap anthems. It was lacking wavy songs, and all the cheesy lines kind of just, killed a lot of the tracks for me.
Yeah, and the anticipation going into this was I was really down for a new Future album. It was like a year that he had taken off of music, and I wanted to see how he was going to return, maybe with a new style, with a new flow, with new features, and it just didn't feel that great in all honesty. So I think the replay value for me
is bad.
It's probably going to be bad. Yeah, like I'm only taking 3 songs
out of 16.
Out of 16, and maybe 4 if you want to get Chickens in there. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to it. But all right, overall thoughts on the album. I went into this album with expectations to get a bunch of bangers and to come through and have a fun listen, because that's what you could expect out of Future albums. And I don't feel as if that was accomplished throughout the track list. I think that Future definitely needs to upgrade on his next album as far as coming in with more energy and coming in with different things, because even the new flows and cadences that he tried out didn't necessarily work for him. And another vision, because to be honest with you, like that was a part of the album where I felt as if it was super lackluster, like, is it a soft album? Is it emotional? Or are you getting trap bangers? What is it? And if there is a mix of both, then even at that, the sequencing of the track list really wasn't all that great. And even looking at the features, you had a stacked feature list. You got Drake 2 times on there, probably his best collaborator. Kodak Black has been ripping up his features lately. I was expecting that to slap. Thames on there, and then after that you have Gunna, you have Young Thug, and you have SG. Those are all fantastic feature, man. But to be honest with you, nothing really hit except for SG and Thames.
Yep.
And that's probably it for me on that end. But how about you? What are your overall thoughts?
This is easily Future's worst album to me, and I think that he actually traveled to the past by recycling old flows, recycling old song ideas, even productions that sound so similar to other beats he's rapped on before. And there's no real display of artistic growth from Future, and that was a big issue for me as well. And the worst part of the album to me is the fact that there is nothing that really ignites any emotions out of you. I'm listening to Future to get turned up. I'm listening to Future to be put into a certain zone and to get his energy that kind of reflects on my energy. And I didn't really get much of that at all. And the mix of melodic and hype tracks sprinkled throughout randomly gives you this playlist feel. No vision or direction from Future. And to be honest with you, like, there's no creativity. Take it back to High Off Life on a song like Riding Strikers. You get a beat switch. You get Future rapping about just having robbed the bank. And you get songs that actually have blood rushing through your veins, that give you adrenaline. And that didn't give me, this album didn't give me any of those at all. And for that reason, I feel like it's a step down, it's a downgrade, and it's a mid-album overall.
Yeah, it is a mid-album overall. And let's go to our community score on Patreon. What were they saying yesterday in the stream?
The community, hold on a second.
Yeah, it was an interesting stream yesterday, guys, because honestly, like, the first listen was much worse than, the listens that I had done today. And I was able to gain more value out of it. But yeah, that first listen wasn't too great for me, to be honest.
So the final score was a bad rating. 80% of the community voted for bad. And then you had 15% mid, 3% great/good, and 3% perfect/amazing. And yeah, I mean, I could see why they would vote for bad. Personally, I think there is a couple of tracks that give you
it's
some
not
value.
it's not a bad album. Like,
it's not horrible.
It's not a horrible album. Like, it's just standard, you know. Like, it's pretty mid. Like, that's pretty much what it is. But honestly, like, whatever. I got 56 Nights and DS2 to go bump later, so I'll be happy with it. But guys, let us know in the comment section, how do you feel about this new Future album? Let us know, you know, where we went wrong with our ratings. You know, what would you change from our ratings? You know, play along with the whole review and go into the comment section. Not only that, but we did a full live album reaction to this album yesterday night on our Patreon plan. If you guys want to access it, link in the description and the pinned comment. You guys are going to have access to our full catalog as well. And as Lou said, next 2 reactions, Jack Harlow and Kendrick Lamar. You guys don't want to miss it. So thank you so much for watching this review, and we'll catch you in the next one.